Hello, everybody. I am so excited to bring this special episode to you to talk about Teach Me ADHD. As you know, this has been a course that was developed in October of 2020, so we've been doing it for quite a while. And today I have Senior Detective Scooter with me to share her experience going through the program with her junior detective. So, Senior Detective Scooter, thank you for being here, first of all.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So I want to just jump on in just because I am always so excited that families who go through the program are so willing to hop on and share a video interview about their experience. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, first of all, how did you come to learn about Teach Me ADHD, and what was the driving factor in your decision to enroll?
Sure. We have had a relationship with you, with Dr. Bauer, for several years, and we really value you as a trusted behavioral pediatrician, as a parenting resource. And we knew about the class because we had talked about it with you, but actually, before I had spoken with it about you and using it with my son, um, I had heard about it from friends, and I had heard about it from friends on social media as well. And there was some chatter about, hey, we did this class. It was really interesting. This might be something you and your son are interested in. So it was neat that it was kind of word of mouth.
I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, we've been offering it now for a while, so there is a community of people out there that have gone through the program. So it's always great that we hear that families feel so excited and are happy with the program that they're talking about it with other people. So that's really great to hear.
Mhm.
Was there any kind of thoughts or hesitations that you might have had when you were first kind of deciding whether or not to enroll?
Hmm. Well, knowing that our son has some challenges with ADHD and particularly with attention, focus, and impulse control, uh, we were definitely considering how we thought he would engage with the content meaningfully,
Mhm.
and then our ability to support him with that. So that's something that came up for us, um, in thinking through our decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you watching this, Teach Me ADHD is a Zoom class because it was developed during COVID. And we've kept it that way for the most part because it allows us to reach more people. And we don't have the constraint of having to, put the onus on families to get somewhere for the class weekly because it is an 8-week class. And the sessions are 75 minutes in length. So it is a lot of time and resources. And the nice thing about taking it from the comfort of your own home is that you can do it in your pajamas. You can kind of do it in a space that your child feels comfortable in. You can do it while you're eating dinner, even, or with your pet. So there are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of advantages for doing it virtually. However, I will say that now that I've expanded my team, I do have a pediatrician, Dr. Samantha Cohen, who is going to be offering it virtually this round at the time of this recording, but she also wants to offer it in person to some families in her San Diego based office. So we are exploring that as well because there is something about just in person also that you can't get when you're doing it virtually. But so far, everything has been virtual here. So that is, I know, a consideration, especially, during COVID and remote learning, some of the kids just were not doing well in that medium. So that is a question and concern. Um, but how was your experience with the program? Did it meet your expectations and all of that, or was there anything surprising about the class?
Yeah, so the program met and exceeded our expectations and what we were hoping to get out of it. Um, First of all, knowing that it was a concern or just kind of wondering how would our child engage with doing it virtually and just with the amount of content, we actually found that doing it virtually was a motivator for our son. And he liked being a part of the meeting where, the kids were really the forefront of what was happening. And the parents, were their assistants,
Mhm.
but he really felt like ownership over what he was doing. And I think he felt grown up, that he was having a meeting just like his grown-ups do on their computer. And we found the technology to actually be supportive in keeping his engagement. There are a lot of things that you do throughout the session to make sure that kids are actively engaging. And then to your point, just about the comfort of our home, he could take breaks when he needed to. We could get snacks. We could, talk about something while you were talking about it. So we were on mute and hey, do you want to talk about that a little bit more? Or let's make sure to write that down. That was actually really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fantastic to hear because I think that's one of the biggest questions that I get is, oh gosh, I'm not sure about Zoom. That's partly why we do offer some mini simulations to families if they want to just test it out and get to meet one of us leading the class to see how their child will respond in that medium. But sometimes it is hard to tell until you're actually doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm glad to hear that he really loved it, took ownership, and like I think that's really interesting that you said, he felt it, like this is his meeting, just like his adults get meetings too, and he really enjoyed that. Was there anything else about the class that surprised you in terms of, it's 8 weeks, you're doing something every week, working together as a team, but is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience?
Yeah. Um, we found it incredibly empowering. And I know that our son found it empowering to learn about ADHD and his own brain and understand how his brain works and
Mhm.
understand that he can work with ADHD. And there are different things that he can do to use it with him as part of who he is instead of fighting against ADHD. Um, that was very empowering for him. And we continue to hear him articulate living with ADHD and talking about tools and strategies. That's part of his everyday.
Mm.
And the fact that there's no shame or embarrassment around, living with something that so many of us do.
Mhm.
That was huge for us.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's I think if anything, that's the biggest objective that we have for this class is to help just normalize what living with ADHD means so that kids, first of all, are empowered because they have the knowledge. They get to see other kids during the class that are just like them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as isolating anymore. It's not this mystery or something wrong with them, because in doctor's offices or, at school functions, you might hear the word ADHD and kids are like, what is that? And the worst thing is feeling like something's wrong. Is that something did I do something to get that? Is that, and sometimes kids don't have the space or the opportunity to voice those feelings, but we really want our kids to understand what it is from as early as possible so that way they can learn to accept that part of themselves because it's a beautiful part of themselves. It is a part of them and we want them to feel empowered. So I'm glad to hear that that was your experience as well.
Yeah, I did want to share. We had a really neat experience that I just learned about today. And it really connects back to this. So I was on the phone earlier with my son's teacher, and we were doing a check-in, and she said, I wanted to share what he shared with the class today. And it sounds like his class was working on a short presentation and poster about what makes me wonderful and unique. And what my son chose to share was what makes me wonderful and unique is that I had ADHD and my brain works a little bit differently. And I, I was just floored that he felt comfortable sharing that he recognized that it's not something that negatively
Mhm.
needs to be part of his identity and who he is. And she shared as well that there were other kids in the classroom that were nodding. Some were even like, I have that, which makes me smile. And also like, so not only is he feeling confident and good about himself, but then he is also building a community and kids can see that in one another so that they know that they're not alone. And that is what we had and what we created when we took this class.
Mhm. Wow. What, I mean, I'm smiling over here just because that, first of all, the fact that he chose to share that and announce that. I mean, how did you feel as a parent when you heard that? Um,
It's interesting because I wonder, maybe a year ago, maybe earlier in our journey,
mhm,
and learning together, I might have felt differently. I might have felt, ooh, is that something that other kids are going to judge him for? Is this going to cast a certain light? But knowing that we've had all these wonderful conversations about working with all these different tools and strategies, and hey, your brain works a little bit differently than maybe some other folks, but here are the other things that maybe you can do that other folks aren't doing, or things that might be more difficult for them.
mhm.
Um, that's huge. And the fact that he was able to positively showcase that and feel good about himself in that way, I mean, that's all I need to know. That makes me so excited and proud.
Yeah, you should be proud. And, like I said, the ultimate goal is to help our kids feel empowered to embrace that side of themselves because it is part of them. It's their
Mhm.
identity, and we want to help them learn to work with their brain and not against it. So, so excited for him that he felt like, yeah, this is just who I am,
Yeah.
was actually helped to kind of spark that conversation in his classroom. So great. What would you say about kind of the weekly missions or different things that we assign you? Is there anything that you want to share about that with the people watching?
Sure. I like that the weekly missions and assignments were directly connected back to practicing or trying or implementing something that we had learned from that week's lesson. So it was kind of your, okay, now you're going to go do it. Because as we know, you can learn about something, but you need to truly experience it to really see how it feels.
Yeah,
And also to learn about the process of whatever you're doing, to know, is it going to work for you, or do you and your family maybe need to go a different direction?
yeah.
We also had fun with it. And, this was another thing that we could come back and bond over because it was an activity we could do together,
Hmm.
in doing some of those different activities. And, I definitely found the class as a whole very beneficial in finding a really intentional way to bond with my son. And that is not something that I expected to get out of the course, but it was very evident. That was one of the outcomes, and that has continued since taking the course. And it almost gave us a reset, maybe from where we had been with our relationship before. Um, that's huge.
Yeah. And I know sometimes one parent or both parents take the class with their detective. I think with your family, at least both of you are on.
We
So
were.
that's always fun to see the whole family participating. But we do have a video supplement. So if for one reason or another somebody's sick, has to stay late at work, there is a way for the other parent or other caregiver to sort of cover the content still if they weren't there in person, so that way it's just something that everybody is aware of what's happening week to week. Yeah.
To that point, my husband and I found that this course and working with you really helped open up and promote dialogue between us
Mm.
in being better at finding supportive ways to together help our son, and also our family dynamic, and relieve maybe some of the pressure or stress that we had felt previously. Um, it gave us good conversation to talk about. And then we had some common understanding and some common ground to build off of.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that we didn't cover about Teach Me ADHD, your experience, or any other thoughts that you'd like to share with prospective families who are, kind of thinking about Teach Me ADHD? They've heard about it, they're not sure
Mm-hmm.
if the time is right. Anything that you'd have to say about that in general?
Yeah. We found the experience to be very worthwhile. And one of the huge reasons is for that bonding experience that we had with our son, and uniting in something that we could learn about together. And then the fact that it's been so empowering for our son. I mean, those things are so important to us. I can't imagine getting that anywhere else or through anything like, what we were able to do with you. So
Yeah. Oh, well, Senior Detective Scooter, thank you so
yeah,
much for, coming on at the end of a workday to record this with me. I mean, it means the world. Thank you for being a part of the Teach Me ADHD family, and for helping sort of spread the word about this course and for how it's impacted your family. Because I think, word of mouth is really the biggest way that we can help make sure that other families who could benefit feel safe to do so, to kind of consider trying it out. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time. It means so much. So
yeah, it's my pleasure. It was such a positive experience.
thank you again. And so, just to remind everybody watching this recording, at the time of this recording, we are going to be doing priority registration August, let's see, 23rd, which is this coming Friday. And then we will be opening general registration next week, Monday. So we are excited to once again offer our fall registration period. So that way you can join us at the agency. And this time we're having two classes, one led by me, one by Dr. Cohen. So you'll jump on the website and see the various time offerings. And if for some reason fall doesn't work out, we are offering it again in January as well. So we hope that you'll consider joining us. If you have any other questions about Teach Me ADHD, please do not hesitate to send me a private message on social media, email us, reach out to us on the website for further questions and concerns. But we hope to welcome you and your family to the agency one day and be a part of this community.